And we're live. Good evening, Shifties. Welcome back to Shift the Journey. I'm your host, Tito Amogus. Today's guest, we have Tim Dickey. Tim, this time with no dots between his first and last name. But Tim Dickey is a veteran of the United States Navy. I almost said Air Force. I did that to somebody else
Dude,
before, and I was like,
seriously?
no, my bad.
Oh,
Well, that's me.
wow.
That's me right there.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. So
Did you miss
yeah.
a tea time, by the way? I just got to ask.
I don't golf anymore. I'm retired.
I always tell people I play at golf.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's what I used to go hit some balls at the range. I was years ago. I was dating a girl whose dad, both her parents loved to golf, and then she's like, "Hey, my dad will let you borrow his clubs if you want to go to the range." And we went to the range every day. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I went golfing and I was like, I hate this.
Yeah.
This is stupid. Never went again. That was like 30 years ago. It was a long time ago.
Well, so. in Top Golf actually is the one thing where I go, yeah, this is fun because I have a target and I'm aiming at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of like the military.
Yeah. I don't know. The military, the target may move. It moves a lot of times. So anyway, for anybody who's not joined before and was wondering, hey, what is going on? What's going on right now is I'm trying to adjust the volume on my earphones. But what is this show about? This show is about career journeys. So it's my passion to bring people together. I love bringing people together. I love sharing knowledge, and one of the ways I love to do it is by storytelling. And so I have somebody come on here on Monday evenings, not every Monday evening. In fact, after today, we're going to be out for like a month, but on Monday evenings mostly. And I like people to come and share their career journeys because I know myself, I was in the military for 20 years. And when I got out, I was just trying to figure out how to get into analytics. And I know there are people who are in some kind of career that maybe they don't really want to be in anymore. Maybe it's like, oh, I've had it, or, it's something out there looks better, but I don't know how to get there. So we can't give you the blueprint, but we can tell you, hey, this is the evidence that it can be done. So let's get back to our guest, Tim. Tim, where are you from originally?
I am originally from California.
Oh, where?
Near Fresno, actually.
Clovis, Merced.
Close. Visalia.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I spent my summers at my aunt and uncle's. I just like I say farm, but like they had animals sometimes and didn't. But in Clovis, I was up there for I don't know, like every summer until I was like 15.
Yeah. Well, and as well as I do, California in that area in the central San Joaquin Valley, we 2 seasons, summer and fog.
Yeah. Yeah. My aunt was telling me one time, my aunt was a nurse, and she was telling me one time that she was driving into work and the fog was so thick that she came up on somebody's taillights. She's like, oh, I'm going to follow them. Maybe they can see the road better than I can. And when the person stopped, she got out and she realized she was in the parking lot of the mall. And so then she's like, oh, this is not where I need to be. I need to find the hospital. Yeah, definally. But I'm from Riverside, so we didn't have fog in Riverside. We had a lot of heat and a lot of smog. So
yeah, well, my parents actually were they lived down in Anaheim.
Okay.
So they moved the family up. I want to say just after my middle sister was born. So we made the migration north and stuck there after that.
Okay.
In the early 70s.
Yeah.
And I think I think we were better off for it because it's farm country. I mean, and my dad was a blue collar guy working outside plant for AT&T for over 40 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of, from the technology standpoint, I kind of followed in my dad's footprints,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually was on the crew that in uh, the 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 primary fiber ring in the state. So the first one that actually got laid into the ground, he was part of that, which is pretty cool
Wow.
when you think about it.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, did you did you have somebody in your family who encouraged you to join the military? Was there something that made you want to join, and why did you choose the Navy?
So yes. On my mom's side, there was this rich history that dated all the way back to the War for Independence, and so
Oh
I
wow.
knew that was part of the fabric, part of the DNA of our family. My father was a Vietnam era veteran.
Okay.
He was drafted, although I mean, at that point, it was like you got one of two choices: Marines or Army. So he was ended up being drafted into the Army.
Hmm.
And we talked about it throughout my growing up years, probably more intensely in high school than in junior high and elementary school.
Hmm.
So it was an ongoing conversation, and it really what it boiled down to. I was failing so badly out of like algebra 2 my sophomore year of high school, or
Uh,
might have been my junior year. But my parents, and this is one of those conversations you got to file it under. You can't make this stuff up. They took me into my bedroom, and I was like 17 at the time, and they knew that they could sign me up. They could enlist me. And so they gave me an ultimatum, and they said, look, you're going to pass, or we're going to go and enlist you in the Army, and that's going to be the end of it. And I was like, and I'm looking at them, and they're like, we're serious. And I'm going,
oh man.
I can tell. So that really was kind of a catalyst. And it was the basic message to me was, you're not disciplined enough to be successful. So we're gonna put some pressure on you. And it made me realize that maybe the military was the right choice for me. So when I was getting close to graduation, I actually asked my dad, let's go talk to see what I can come up with. And we went branch shopping effectively, and we stopped by every single recruiter in the recruiting strip mall near one of
Yeah.
the supermarkets. Yeah, it was yes, I went went military service shopping before I joined the Navy. And really what it boiled down to was the Navy, and honest with you, it was very selfish on my part. The Navy offered the better deal.
Yeah.
And it was the GI Bill, and at that time, the Navy College Fund, in addition to a guaranteed job, meaning I would enlist, and it was contingent upon, of course, me getting through the physical and getting through boot camp, but I had a guaranteed job that I get trained into coming out of boot camp. And I thought, man, well, this is a great start.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah. I went to the Army recruiter first. And fortunately for me, I had a cousin who was in the Army Reserves, and he's like, "Tell me what they said." And so I ran it by him. I was like, "Oh yeah," he said, "This is." He's like, "That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie." He said, "You need to go to the Air Force recruiter." And I was like, "Why?" And my mom's like, "You need to go join the Navy," because her dad was in the Navy, and his dad was in the Navy, and his dad was in the Navy. So,
And are you now questioning because you're talking to a retired Navy chief?
no.
You should be questioning your life choice. I'm just saying.
No, never. Nope, not at all. I was like, no, I don't want to join the Navy. And all it took was like one trip to an Air Force base, and I was like, wow, everything looks new. I think I'm gonna go here.
Not wrong. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh, everything's new. Everything's like the best and the brightest. I went to a Navy base. I'm like, man, this stuff looks like it's really old. So,
oh,
hey.
the first submarine I was assigned to was like built a year before I was born.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And at that point, I'm like, I'm like 20 years old.
yeah.
So this thing is close to the operational end of life.
Oh
And I'm
my
like,
gosh.
okay.
Yeah. So you joined right after high school, or did
Yeah.
you? Yeah, okay. And then
Yep.
how long did you serve?
So between active and reserve, nearly 25 years.
Oh wow. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
With two boots on the ground deployments to Afghanistan.
okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I when did you finally like retire?
according to my retirement certificate up here on the wall, it says January 1st, 2016.
Oh, 2016. Okay, yeah. That
Yeah.
was not long after me. I was done in August of 2015.
Yeah. Well, I kept holding on. Yeah, I was looking for my star on my anchor. That's really what kept me around.
Yeah.
Yeah, make
Yeah.
senior.
Yeah. So what was your plan for when you were getting out? Did you decide
So
when did you decide that you wanted to work? Because there's so many people that I know that are like, I'm done.
yeah, so it's interesting because there are two parts to this. Number one was the fact that I wanted to make a career out of this some way, whether it was going to be to really go to the distance on this. So when I got out the first time after my active duty stint, which was almost 7 years, I decided, look, I got to go back to school. I actually need to finish college and get the type of education and skills that are going to make me employable. And so that's where the career started to get built. And I got a degree in system. You'll love this. And it's not on my LinkedIn profile. So this is one of those things that, ageism isn't actually a thing. Certain stuff just falls off the profile because it shows how old you are. My
Yeah.
first job out of college was working as a systems manager for Carnival Cruise Lines on cruise ships.
Oh, wow.
And in the meanwhile, I was still serving in uniform. So I was basically doing my 1 week a month and, all those weekends in a compressed time period when I would go on vacation. So, so that, just it started me on the right path. And while I was doing that, of course, I was progressing in my career in uniform. Now, that is a balancing act. That is really a balance. It's very, very hard. And especially, when you start getting committing and having a family and, the children and all this stuff involved. For the second part of this, which is really the retirement out of the reserve, I was already in a position where, the career was fairly mature in technology. And I knew that it's like, okay, so this is the path, and I was moving out of the Intel field and really focusing very much on information technology. So it's the commitment. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And I'm going to choose to be happy at it. I mean, there's some stuff that it's like, it's not interesting. I mean, if somebody had asked me 10 years ago, hey, would you, do you think you'd be working with artificial intelligence as part of your day-to-day job? I would have probably laughed at them. But today it's in everything I do almost every day.
Yeah.
So, it's tough to know when, especially if you're leaving active duty and you're doing it at that point where you're saying, okay, I did my 20, it's time for me to move on, to look at that horizon beyond, where you're at immediately and be able to forecast where the work. I mean, we've got young adult daughters. I can't give our daughters any sound, solid career advice except to build a career one block at a time.
Yeah.
Do micro learning, get a certification here, attend a seminar or a short course over there, get your associate's degree so that at least you've got this base level of college education you can build off of over the course of an extended period of time. and it's interesting. And I think with the way that all the branches emphasize formal education now, I don't think there's any branch where even if you only spend 4 years in uniform, you don't have the opportunity to walk out with at least a 2-year degree.
Right. Yeah. It was super emphasized when I was in the Air Force, when I was on active duty. It was super emphasized to at least be chasing after your 2-year degree, community college in the Air Force. It wasn't hard, just take care of these things and you'll be fine. And I don't remember, man, it's been a long time. I don't remember a lot of people who served for just 4 years and got no college. They got some college at least. I don't know that everybody got their 2-year, but they had some. And a lot of the times, the guys who were getting out, guys and girls who were getting out at 4, they were going straight to a college campus. And they're like, hey, I'm bringing in life experience and the GI Bill, which is going to pay for my way. Yes, that was the plan originally for me. I was like, 4 years and I'm done. And then like 20 years later, I'm like standing there at my retirement going, where did it all go wrong?
Well, you say that. And I was really fortunate enough to be able to come back on orders for extended periods of time. Really because I was part of the special operations community. Not as an operator, but as an intel and a support person. Yeah. So a lot of times it was like, we need your skills. We need you to come in and help us improve knowledge management. And in the meanwhile, as a reservist, especially on extended orders, I was able to take advantage of TA. Tuition assistance paid for my graduate degree. Oh yeah, we the people paid for my graduate degree.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I look at it and I go, for this is where I try to encourage people, think about the long game. If you really have the heart to make the military a career, think about what that looks like. It doesn't have to be 20 years on active duty. You can make it work and more flexible for you and enjoy the benefit of service while you're building a career and continuing your education. I mean, it's possible. I'm living proof of this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So as you were transitioning out, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do as for a career?
If I ever figure out what I want to be when I grow up, you'll be the first person I'll tell. Information technology is a fascinating field. And a lot of it is because it impacts almost every area of our life. You can't go anywhere and not have information technology touch you in some form or fashion. So I knew as a kid, and I was like the normal nerd. I mean, I had an affinity for computers. My parents even had me go learn BASIC as a programming language during summer one year. I had a keyboard basically at my disposal, probably middle school on up, and it was just almost like the path that unfolded before me. When I joined the Navy, and this was a weird thing going through MEPS, I didn't know it at the time, but I did my color vision test and found out I had a color vision deficiency. So what I thought was really a broad number of potential career opportunities quickly. And as a result, getting into the submarine force, I really only had like 3 or 4 different options in that pursuit. And so I went in doing administrative stuff, but we had a need for sonar operators, and I volunteered, and I said, sure, I can put on a set of headphones and learn to look at a green screen and, you distinguish, what's going on here. kind of became the entry point into the technology side of this as far as the military was concerned, but even better, the entry point into intel, is that's acoustic intelligence being collected in real time. So it really, this is where I can look back and I can go, these are the two things that I think acted as the springboard for my success later on, in technology in the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
Just where it all came together on board the USS Archerfish. It was like, there you go.
Yeah. So did you like start to build your network before you got out?
Oh yeah, heavily.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think it was earlier this year, LinkedIn gave me my little congratulations for being on the platform. And I was like, holy crap. And I know I've been in the career field for close to 30, if not 30 altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so even when I was still in school, I was trying to work my way into the coolest jobs I thought possible. And it was funny because I was working at the college I graduated from on a veterans work study program. And I put on my list, I had a top 10 and Carnival in that top 10, but at the time also Oracle was a huge player in the space, and Apple was reemerging from the dark years. So, I looked at it and I went, man, I even got to go to work for my first real job post military for a company that, was driven by technology. In fact, today there's a lot of things that in the cruise industry, they were very pioneering at the time. And I look at what they do today and I'm amazed. I'm
what?
absolutely amazed. So Carnival built a point of sale system from scratch.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. Okay. It was great. And I was part of the team that because I was part of that process. And it was because, some of the technology they were trying to repurpose from the hotel and the restaurant industry just wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, cool, we'll spend, $25 million and we'll build it for ourselves.
Wow. Did they market it to other cruise lines?
Nope. Oh, heck no.
Yeah.
Competitive advantage at that point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely.
And they had been for so long, they had been the leader in the space, and Royal was always trying to play catch up. And I think at a certain point, Royal leapfrogged them on something. I believe it was really guest Wi-Fi access, where they made a very strategic play, and Carnival ended up having to play catch up on that.
Oh,
yeah. Oh. And I was like, well, hey, I mean, it is what it is. It's industry.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. And so I saw in your profile, well, there's a lot of things, but you got into like project and program management.
Yep.
What was the okay, wait. So there are people that I know who started out in analytics and then they're like, oh, I want to go into program or project management, right? Or people who were maybe like doing something else that like in their industry, and then they ended up being a project manager and they're like, oh, I really like this, and decided to, chase down that career instead of like staying in their industry, just like chasing after that career and going to other industries.
Mm-hmm.
What was the thing that brought you to it and what made you stay there?
It has been my ability to connect dots. And of course, in the intel field, that's what we get paid to do.
Yeah.
And then of course, validate or invalidate assumptions. So it really came quite naturally to look at things and go, how do we organize what we want to accomplish in an intelligent way, and then use feedback to make adjustments in those forecasts. And I moved away from the whole Microsoft project, 15-page Gantt chart thing, fairly, it started probably about 10 or 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was because I realized that there's just no good way to forecast out of complexity. You can forecast out a complication because at least you understand what your problem is. But when you're stuff, you don't even know what you're dealing with half the time. So, it's assessing where you're at and making the necessary adjustments. Very much like when you're in a contact situation, in a battlefield. There's no way you can lay out a course of action. You're most likely, you're least likely, and most dangerous. But there is no way that until you're in the midst of them, you're ever going to know what's going to play out on the ground. And taking some of those lessons and saying, look, this is the world. We live in a system of systems. Mm-hmm. And they're all complex and they're all adaptive. So you can put pressure over here and something random is going to happen over here. But you can't forecast that until you actually take action. So it fascinates me from the standpoint of being able to go, what if? Okay, what if I had this experiment over here and we get one of these two or three different results that we're expecting? Mm-hmm. Well, how would that change our plan? And if we do get those results and we get, say, a higher revenue yield or a cost savings or faster time to market, do we pursue that? Is that the opportunity that we want to go after? And so there's, for me, coming out of the military and being in this space, I have this natural bias towards action. Let's get stuff done and occasionally break some stuff because it's not fun if you don't break something.
Yeah, that reminds me of I had some automations like in UAT, and I'm talking to the client, and I'm like, hey, listen, I don't want you to go click, yeah, it's good. It's all good. I said, no, I want you to test this thing for a couple months, and I want you to try to break it. And they're like, why do you want me to break it? I said, because it will inevitably break and I'll no longer be on this project. Yep. And then it's like, at least if you break it now, then I could try to figure out like, okay, where is it failing? Why is it failing? And then try to build something so that it would stop doing that. Right.
Yeah.
But like terrible, it would be like, okay, I'm done with the project. And then it's like, it's broken. Well, I told you to break it. So, you're not doing a great job breaking things. I did have a couple people who were like, yeah, and they broke it. And I'm like, thank you very much. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's good. Oh, yeah. I want to identify all the things that could go wrong because they inevitably will go wrong.
And that's actually for me, that is the coolest part of what I get to do most time, especially with generative artificial intelligence. I have become the master of things, and my teams can tell you, it's like, oh no, don't let him in there, please. That Python, I know it's rickety. I know it's brittle. It is going to go sideways. And it's like, yep, I am going to push that. I'm going to push that edge case. And it'd be like, yeah, remember what 3 weeks ago?
Yeah. I think I especially find, it's like a scaffolding. It's like rickety scaffolding when you have something that has to do with like conditions, and sometimes people will build automations where it's like too specific on the conditions. So then you put yourself into condition jail, right? Because it's like if this, then this, otherwise this, or this, or this, or this. Yeah. And it's like, but what about this thing that you're not even thinking about? And it's like, oh yeah, no, it looks good. It's not good though. You put yourself into condition jail and then you'll pay the price. Because, how do you get yourself out of that?
Nested if then loops. It's just awful.
Yes.
Well, this is so now I've gotten to the point working with my colleagues. Because I am the actor who plays the software developer on TV. I have them do my code reviews, and oftentimes because I'm working with tools like GitHub Copilot, and I use Perplexity. I actually do like adversarial pair programming between generative AI chatbots. I will direct wherever my starting point is for my initial solution to not be recursive. It's like I want the minimal amount of recursion within this code, because that way it kind of walks out the logic of embedding a bunch of if-then statements. Yeah. So there you go. That's the one takeaway that people can go, oh yeah, if I limit recursion. Who'd have thought, right?
So, I see on your profile also that you, I was like, I wonder what he's doing like today. Yeah. And so there's like a whole bunch of things of like currents. One of them on there was like freelancer. And then you're also like a partner on,
for
like
Descript.
Descript. What is that?
So Descript is a video editing platform, but it's more than that. They started out as a voice to text automation service. So basically, you could create, or you could spin up your Descript agent and in your call, and it would just transcribe your meetings. Very much like it's done in Teams now, and of course Zoom and some video platforms. But they've branched out. They really expanded, and the tooling that they've got is quite. It's good for content creators because it accelerates that cycle from long form video recording to sound bites, and then of course you can repurpose the whole entire segment to lending itself to different social media channels in text. You can parse the images, so it's quite powerful, and I've used it quite a bit, and I like the options that it provides. And it just makes the whole solopreneur kind of approach to content creation that much more achievable for most people.
Yeah, one of the things that that I have been like struggling with is coming up with good it's like the YouTube shorts, right? And I used one product before and it was like, oh, that's pretty good, but then like the watermark is like all over there. It's like, oh, but how much am I going to pay for it, right? Yep. And then I used another one and it's like, hey, how did we do? They gave me like 20 different sound bites and they were like terrible. I'm like, what is this? Is this part of the conversation? Is like, it's not really, it's like half of one conversation and then it bleeds over into the next one. I was like, that was not good at all. And so I tried to make my own and I'm like, man, I'm terrible at this.
And I've done it the hard way. And I still use, I've got a toolkit that I have been using for years. And for some of my heavy lift, not the stuff I just want to take and spit out, but some of the more polished things, I still use those tools because they're just better, and it's like, you're going to pay one way or the other. And it just depends on what the premium is that you're willing to pay.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true.
And so the freelance thing. And so this is, this is where I like to talk about this, because when I joined Improving, which is a consulting company I work at currently and have been there for almost, going on 5 years, I learned about this concept called conscious capitalism. And I'm a huge proponent of it because capitalism's broke. I mean, it really is. But about, just over 15 years ago, John Mackey and Raj Sisodia wrote a book, and John was one of the co-founders of Whole Foods down in Austin. And they were like, well, why don't we re-envision the way capitalism could operate? And so there's one piece of that, which is a stakeholder orientation, which is where I go to small business meetups. I talk to business owners that really couldn't afford my professional services at the rate that improving bills my expertise out.
Mm-hmm.
But for an hour or half an hour, oftentimes they get my undivided attention. And so it's my way of helping to grow a strong, sustainable business community.
Mm-hmm.
And I host some of the meetups that we have in our offices after business hours, and those meetups are technology focused, and many of these groups have been with improving for going on 20 years since the doors first opened. And when I host, I am very explicit in telling the group at that evening, thank you for being here. This is a way that we demonstrate conscious capitalism in our community. We want you to thrive. We want you to be successful, and this is our opportunity to show that. And further, we've got a startup competition called Code Launch. So we put up a lot of we give away a lot of money, and guess what? Those startups, it's zero cost to them. No equity taken, no entry fee. And it is because of conscious capitalism.
Nice.
We're on a mission. And this is, in a lot of ways, this is what drew me to improving. Leaving IBM, going into consulting, big risk. But I saw that people enjoyed hanging out with each other after work, know the company. What I realized is, the company is focused on changing the perception of the IT profession. That is no small undertaking. And I have heard the stories, and I don't want to spoil it because I think Curtis Hyatt, our CEO, does a better job of telling his story. But, he was sitting in a room and a speaker asked, who are the least trusted parts of your organization, whether that be internally within your teams versus externally as far as your vendors or partners are concerned. And, IT was one of the least trusted pieces of most CEOs' companies. And Curtis knew at that point, it's like, this has got to change.
Yeah.
So our mission is my mission, because I've seen it, being at Carnival for a number of years, being at Verizon as a senior manager, going to IBM, I've seen it. And in a lot of ways, this is me just, being committed to doing the right thing to change our industry, and to in the meanwhile create opportunity. I try to refer somebody into the company every single month if I get an opportunity. If there's a position that's open where I think that they might be a fit, I try to connect people with opportunities as well, because it serves the purpose of just like when we were in uniform, the bigger thing, the higher calling. And it never left, and it won't leave. And I'm going to continue to do it until I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I love to do is like I said, bring people together. I've had, somebody who's in my network who's like, hey, I'm hiring for, XYZ. And I'm like, hey, I know somebody you should talk to. So I reach out to them. It's like, hey, you want to get into chat with these people? So, and I've had a couple fairly recently who were like, a couple of my buddies, they reached back out and they're like, hey, I'm getting a job. And then the other guy was like, hey, we offered him a job. And I was like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly
it. That's the word. That's the win, Tito. That's the win.
That's right. That's right. So, your career is interesting. Interesting to me because not only did you have like a multifaceted military career, and you're like active duty and reserve, right? And then you were also at the same time chasing down something that was like, like not concrete. It's like
Yeah.
you got a dream. You got a dream. One man and his dream. It's like a trailer for a movie, right?
Yeah. And, hey, by the way, Hollywood cannot write scripts for the life that I've lived professionally. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I don't. Who would play you? I mean, if they
I don't
did.
know. I haven't like actually found an actor that I would even trust to try and film. I mean, at least Chris Kyle got what's his name, right?
Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
somebody asked me before, like, if there was who would you have play you in your autobiography? I'm like, that's easy. The Rock. Like, come on.
Can you smell what?
Yeah, he's like a whole foot taller than me, but we got about the same complexion and the same hairstyle. So we're gonna go with that.
Easy transition.
And so I got one more question for you, before we sign off. I want to know, like, if you had one piece of advice for somebody who's thinking about changing their career, making some kind of change, whether it's like from analytics to program management, or from some industry to something else. If there's one piece of advice that you could give to somebody, what would that be?
I would say at this point, do your research. There's a lot of tools out there that can help you, and having informational interviews is still a thing. And I talk to young people about this quite frequently, which is you want to commit to something that you don't even know if you might like it.
Right.
And it's hard. I mean, it really is. And one of the patterns that I've seen emerging really probably over the last 10 years is if you're not, I don't want to say happy, but if you're not satisfied with where you're at and what you're doing, and you've given it a couple, it's not working. There's too much friction. You're just not getting the traction that you would hope. There's nothing wrong with pivoting, especially when you have better information to work with. So, I think that the traditional career path, and I've read plenty of articles that indicate this, the type of career path that my dad had, where he was able to spend 40 years with AT&T, that's long gone. One of the most startling things that I read here just this week was, there's no loyalty in large companies anymore. And it's evidenced by the number of layoffs. I think we form loyalty, and it's generally around the people that we work with directly and whatever the direction the company is taking. So there are a lot of great companies, large companies out there that are doing the right thing for the right reason. And you can form loyalty around that mission. But don't lock yourself in and sell yourself short if you find that there's a better opportunity out there, and especially if it's with a company that you respect, and potentially with people that you might like working with. As if you've got friends on the inside and you have a pretty good read on what that culture looks like, go for it. Don't grow roots, because at this point in time, with artificial intelligence in general, but generative artificial intelligence specifically, it's changing the game for everything.
Oh yeah.
And here's the bigger deal. And this is something that I think is really it's not broadcast enough. And especially in the military consists of a lot of jobs that are trade jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And trades will never go away.
Right.
I'm saying this, it doesn't matter how good the robotics are. You're going to need to have a master plumber or a master electrician or, a pipe fitter. And the trades there's honor in working in the trades. Yeah. And, I don't want young people, especially if they ever watch this, to think that I'm looking down my nose at the trades, because my dad was a blue collar guy. He was a tradesman. I got my work ethic. I got the willingness to tinker and explore and about both hardware and software from my dad. Mm-hmm. And it has carried me a long, long ways. I couldn't manage a commercial data center unless I understood exactly how to cable up servers and storage and network switches and routers. That's trade work.
Yeah, sure is. Yeah, definitely. My dad was for a long time as I was growing up. People were like, "Oh, what does your dad do?" I'm like, "He's a handyman." So he was a carpenter. He was an electrician. He installed water purification systems. He did all kinds of stuff. And there was a time when he was working in electronics. He worked for a company that was bought by Smith Corona, and he worked from like the factory floor up to designing an adding machine. And so they when he like left the company, they gave him the prototype that they built from his design. I was like, man, that's crazy.
That is.
Yeah. But adding machine, kids today are like, what's an adding machine? It's like, it's right here.
It's on your phone, man. It's
on my phone, right? Yeah. But so yeah, definitely. I know I definitely wanted to chase down a career in electronics. Why I joined the Air Force is because my dad did some electronics, and I was like, yeah, I want to do stuff like him. Rest in peace, Dad. Love you forever, Dad. I'm using I usually use a different laptop for these shows, but I didn't swap it out today. And what I'm getting is like a wider like aspect ratio. And I'm seeing back there that picture right there. That's from my dad's memorial service. And I'm like, maybe next time I won't use this computer because it's like distracting me. I keep thinking about him. But anyway, not to go down I don't want anybody to be depressed, man. My dad was awesome, and I loved him.
And
he gave me his hairstyle and everything. It's awesome.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned that, and I actually talked to my dad over the weekend. And so, I remind him of the fact that he's on borrowed time. At almost 80 years old, I'm like, hey, you're like 2 years over expiration. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy. Well, you know what? It's been great having you on the show. To get your perspective is pretty cool. Even though you were in the Navy, it's okay. No, I'm just joking. Hey, listen, wow. My mom's whole side of the family, all aside from my parents' generation, like they were growing up during the Imperial Japan's occupation of the Philippines when they were children, right? And so they saw all these things, and almost nobody in my parents' generation of like all their friends and family, almost nobody joined the military, right? And so like 3 or 4 generations before my mom, all the dudes were Navy or Merchant Marine, something, right? Something with the ocean. And I'm like, Mom, I sink. I'm not joining the Navy. So I was the first in my family to join the Air Force. And so, not everybody can be as cool as you, but some people just have to be pioneers in their family. So, I just...
So before we wrap up, I do want to answer that question about the 2 dots.
Do it.
Okay. So I don't know how you are about spam messages, either in my inbox or on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So I know if somebody's auto-generating a message to me and they've got the 2 dots, it's because all they're doing is scraping. They're not taking time whatsoever. It's probably a robot just churning out inbox in messages or emails. So that's
interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool description. And some people put emojis in there, as another way. But this is the Intel guy. I was like, how do I cut down on the useless messaging here? This is the way. And people don't even think about it. And it's like, and I'm hoping that after they'll be like, I'm putting dots in my name. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's something to think about. Right now, I have like my middle name on there, right? So I have Prometheus Tito,
Yeah.
and I always know when it's like I'm not sure I want to talk to this person because it says they'll address me as Prometheus Tito, and I'm like, bro, I'm like either it's Prometheus or it's Tito,
or Tito.
but like Prometheus
It's not-
Tito, I'm like, why would you do
Although,
that? That's weird.
that seriously, that's a good superhero name.
Well, apparently there was a cartoon called Prometheus and Bob, and so people tell me about that all the time. I'm like, what? What is
Bob?
that? Prometheus
Really?
and Bob? Yeah,
Bob.
really.
I couldn't see The Rock, playing you as a character if your middle name was Bob.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna shoot the Rock a message after this.
Oh, please do.
Script,
Yeah.
with a script in my life. So anyway,
I still got to figure out who's going to play me in that bioptic.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, thanks for coming on the show. It was great to hear about your story and to get some advice from you. I put it in the chat, so it went straight to YouTube. I don't know why. Sometimes it'll show up if you rewatch it on YouTube. It'll go, "Ew," but it does not show up on LinkedIn. Maybe I'll just copy and paste it, put it back on LinkedIn.
There we go.
But anyway, everybody, wait, don't go anywhere, Tim, because I want to talk to you in the studio. But everybody else, hey, I'm going to be taking about a month off. Don't forget about me though. I'll repost some of my my previous episodes. But if you are a career shifter or you're thinking about shifting into analytics, like anything, automation, data visualization, whatever, if you have any questions, shoot me a message and let's have a conversation. I'd love to do it. And if there's somebody that you want to meet that is in my network, hey, I'll strike up a conversation. We'll see how it goes. All right. I can't promise that they'll talk to you, but I can promise that I'll help you. How about that? So, all right, everybody, have a good week. Have a good month. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.